Hey guys, what's going on, dudes? It is David here. We're back with another video. Now, in this video, guys, we shall be discussing the quintessential quintuplets, particularly the debate that I've always had and the debate I've always stood on, and that is the childhood best friend versus the one I feel like should have won. And trust me, throughout the quintessential quintuplets fandom, there's a lot of people that can understand why Yotsuba won, considering Yotsuba was the one that actually got him to start taking studying seriously, which eventually led him to get the job with the Quints and him and Yotsuba finding themselves together. But then there's other fans like me who are looking at this story objectively and saying that Yotsuba was not really one of the best choice, and no matter what they did in the manga, the childhood best friend is a trope that a lot of times wins in anime. But if you are looking things at realistically in this anime, Yotsuba should not have won. And the two choices that should have been between it should have been either Nino or Miku. And I want to say this right now. Yes, Miku did not fully like him until episode 2. Miku was very cautious of Futaro. I think all the sisters were cautious of Futaro except for Yotsuba, and I feel like that's just because Yotsuba's personality is just so friendly. Miku was kind of like, like standoffish a little bit, but once she got comfortable with Futaro, she instantly fell for Futaro, and she was literally doing everything to try and improve and try and better her life. There's a story that I can personally relate to because that's the same thing with Hinata. Let's not forget, Hinata did everything to impress Naruto and to try and be beside Naruto's side. Miku did everything to get better cooking, like get better study. She was the smartest of her sisters. She was the one that was the best at acting when it came to that. And she did all of this to try and improve herself and try and show Futaro that she can improve. And by the movie time, she's able to stand up for herself. She's able to speak her mind without, any words of anything. And she showed that to Futaro. But yeah, Futaro ended up choosing Yotsuba because, again, the whole trope of him starting studying because he met Yotsuba back when he was a kid. So, I mean, that's fair enough. But in my debate, I don't think anybody will be able to change my mind and opinion where I think that Miku should have just been the winner. I mean, Miku started out the character where she was a loser. She said she was a loser of the sisters. She was no good as a sister, even though she was the smartest sister. Because I remember when they did the practice exam, she got the high score at 32 out of the whole of the 5 sisters. She was able to impersonate Yotsuba that episode, like when Futaro was chasing her around, and she literally just put the ribbon and just acted like Yotsuba. And keep in mind, one of her sisters is literally an actress throughout the show. So the fact that Miku was better than this, and even though eventually Ichika started taking her study seriously, and when Miku said, "Hey, if I scored the best on this test, I'm gonna tell Futaro how I feel," she never got to because Ichika ended up beating her out. And I'm not gonna lie, I think the shyness, so, like Miku's, like shyness ended up backfiring her in a lot of moments of time, and I can understand that personally because I went through that whole thing with Hinata, but Hinata eventually got to be with, like Naruto, but also Hinata was the childhood friend of Naruto, so I gotta go that storyline trope again. But Yotsuba, I can understand her winning, but do I agree with her winning? Fuck no. Fuck no. I will never agree with Yotsuba winning. In my personal belief, there's 3 sisters I would have put over Yotsuba winning. Miku would have been my number 1 choice. Nino would have been right up there. And then Itsuki. Itsuki was the one that Futaro first met when the anime started. She's the one that has the best relationship with his sister, with his family at the beginning. Yotsuba didn't really have that kind of relationship until I think the 3rd or 4th episode. So Ichika already had that relationship, and then the worst one, it was Ichika. Ichika was never really an option in my mind, but throughout the whole quintessential quintuplets, we see the storyline progress. We see each of these characters grow as to become better who they are. Yotsuba didn't really have that much progression throughout the anime, and I believe that's because they kind of cut things out from the manga. So I got to read the manga as well to see get my final thoughts about the opinion. But at this current standpoint right now, looking at everything just from the anime perspective, there's no fucking way Yotsuba should have won, and the winner should have at least been my favorite Miku, or it should have been Nino from the Quintessential Quintuplets.